Hey, this is Mr. Drogemeyer. Thanks for joining me for our Algebra 1 lesson videos. Today we're going to be looking at Unit 2, Lessons 2 and 3, which is about adding and subtracting polynomials. And to get started with this, there's a lot of vocabulary involved in this particular lesson. So just wanted to kind of go through some of those terms, make sure that you have an understanding of what these different terms mean. So these first four terms that are listed here are all related. So we have polynomial, monomial, binomial, and trinomial. And the words here, you can kind of break them down. Poly means many, nomial means number or term in this case. So when we talk about a polynomial, that's going to be kind of our general term or general word for an expression that has multiple terms. In particular, we're going to focus on when we use the word polynomial, we're going to be talking about ones that have four or more. But you might hear that word referenced to any expression that has more than one term. So when we talk about terms, and we've talked about terms before, um, so an example of a polynomial might be something like 3x to the third plus 2x squared plus 5x plus 6. So there are four terms here. The terms are separated by the addition or subtraction, and so this would be considered a polynomial. A monomial is going to be an expression with one term. So that could be something as simple as, and usually when we're talking about polynomials, we have variables involved. So 5x would be a monomial. If I had 3x squared y squared z, that's still a monomial because there's only one term there. Everything is being multiplied together. So that's a monomial. Binomial, bi means two, like bicycle. So that means we have two terms. So mono was one, bi is two, tri is three. So if you know those prefixes, that helps to remember some of these. So binomial, two terms, something like 5x plus 4, 3x squared plus 5x. Those would be binomials. Trinomial, we have three terms. We'll see a lot of these when we talk about quadratics as we get further along in this particular unit. We'll talk about quadratic expressions, and you'll get that definition as we get further along. But so an example of a trinomial would be something like that. So first of all, understanding what those particular terms mean. And then we want to, when we work with these different expressions, we want to see, one, if we can simplify. And so we have the term simplify there. It says to combine like terms by way of addition or subtraction, or to reduce fractional expressions where applicable. So our process of simplifying is, can we make the expression that we're given simpler? Can we combine things, make it easier to work with? And we'll look at some examples of that. And then it talked about combining like terms. Well, like terms are going to be two or more terms that are either constants or they have the same variable with the same power. So for example, when we talk about constants, if I have an expression that has, let's say, 2 plus 5 plus x, well, 2 and 5 are constants, and I can combine those. I can add 2 and 5, and I get 7. And so simplifying that expression would be 7 plus x. That would be a simplified form of this expression. If I have variable terms that I have the same variable and the same power. So let's say I have this expression, x squared plus 2x squared plus 3x. Well, they all have an x. These two have an exponent of 2. This one doesn't have an exponent. We understand that it has an exponent of 1. The two that I've underlined here, they would be like terms because they have the same variable and the same exponent with that variable. And so I could add x squared and 2x squared. And remember, x squared is really 1x squared. That's just an understood number there. But so when I add those together, I get 3x squared. And so a simplified form for this one would be 3x squared plus 3x. And then we have our definition of constant here. We talked about it here. It's going to be any real number or a term composed of a number with no variables present. So constants are like terms. They don't have a variable. We should be familiar with those from math we've worked with before. So just a couple of examples here. I did a couple of simple examples up there of combining like terms. Let's look at how we would simplify these two expressions. So my first one here, and what I like to do is I like to use some underlines to help me identify like terms. Well, I have a constant 3 here, and the only other constant that I see is 7. So those are like terms. This term, 6xy, has x and y as the variable. I have another term here that has an x and a y as a variable. And then finally, this negative 4n, I have another term that has n as the variable, negative 8n. So I can combine these like terms. So 3 plus 7 is 10. 6xy minus 3xy, I add those coefficients, the numbers that are in front of the variables together. So positive 6, negative 3 adds up to positive 3, and then the variables stay. So 3xy is what I get when I add those together. And then finally, negative 4n, negative 8n. When I add negative 4 and negative 8, I get negative 12, and I keep that variable. So this would be the simplified form of that expression. And this would be a polynomial expression. We had 6 terms when we started. We were able to simplify it into a trinomial with 3 terms. All right, and then our next one here, again, looking for like terms. This negative 7a, I have negative a here. Those would be like terms. The 5b squared and the negative b squared, those are like terms. And then I just have the one constant, so there won't be anything to combine it with. Negative 7a plus a negative a, and remember that's the same as negative 1a. So negative 7 plus negative 1 is negative 8, so that's negative 8a. And then my b squared terms, positive 5b squared, this would be a negative 1b squared. So positive 5 plus negative 1 is positive 4b squared. And then I just have that constant left. And this would be my simplified form. Again, I started with a polynomial with 5 terms, and now I have a trinomial with 3 terms. All right, that's all I've got for you today on adding and subtracting polynomials. As always, if you do have questions, please let me know. Thanks. Have a great day.